we will take roll call.
Meeting's been called to order.
The meeting has been called, oh yeah, sorry. The meeting has been called to order at 5:44. Would you like to take roll?
Yes. Commissioner Thomas Caudet.
Here.
Commissioner John Ogier. Here. Commissioner Moises Gonzalez. Commissioner John Marshall Lee.
Present.
Commissioner Faith Sweeney.
Here.
Commissioner I can never pronounce this name.
Aish.
Aish Abdullah. Sorry, Miss Abdullah. Commissioner Williams, Terry Williams. Commissioner Susan Martin.
I'm here.
Commissioner Kelly Nims. Commissioner Daeed Mohammed McKnight. Commissioner Joe Larkovich.
Here.
For that. Commissioner Kim Eaton.
Present.
Commissioner Steve McKenzie. That is everybody. We have a quorum, Madam Chairman.
Okay, we have a quorum
Quorum.
a quorum to conduct business tonight, which is wonderful. I'm trying to find an agenda, sorry.
Madam Chair, may I make a motion that we, because we don't have this on the agenda, that we add the approval of minutes for the meetings.
You can't, you have to do it at the next meeting.
Yeah,
You can't add it at a special meeting.
Okay, that's fine.
Um,
Thank you, Lisa.
Okay, so on our agenda, I'm just trying to download something. We're gonna put the updated schedule as of 4/27/25. That'll be the first exhibit in tonight's meeting. The exhibit number 2 will be this document, the Municipal Office of Ethics and Ethics Commission will be the second one. And then exhibit 3 will be Bridgeport Charter Revision Commission background document number 5. Strengthening the Ethics Commission will be number 3. And our first on our agenda tonight is to discuss, one second. Is to discuss a possible Ethics Commission update. Because there is an Ethics Commission, sorry. So it is strengthening the Ethics Commission. Okay, you have that, I don't have that, thank you. So we will be discussing the general discussion regarding the proposed changes to the Ethics Rules and Ethics Commission in the city of Bridgeport. That close. And I do want to just, my computer is not happy today.
Commissioner Lee?
Yes.
May I ask a question before we start? Paperwork that I get says that we're reviewing the Municipal Office of Ethics and Ethics Commission.
That's exhibit 2, yes.
Right. Are we looking at a department?
It's actually going to be
The
the creation of a department.
Because it's a board and commission.
Yes, we are looking for the creation of a department and strengthening the commission that
There is
already
a-
exists.
There is a budget right now for ethics. It's under $2,000 in the city budget that's been advanced. And I couldn't determine what it covers or whatever, but thank you. So we're discussing both issues. And the backup question is, do we have this because we have to by state rule or because we want it for better governance?
It's a proposal for better governance.
Thank you.
The chair recognizes, wait, but I wanted to say something before I recognize anybody, and I'm trying to, here it is. So for our first meeting, for our first discussion on the Ethics Commission, I did want to state that in my email on April 26th, I had asked for John Hosier, Tom, Steve, and in addition to that, Susan to do some research and work on a proposal for the municipal Office of Ethics and Ethics Commission. So at this time, I would like to recognize Susan for sharing, share the proposals on our Exhibit 2, which you have here, which is the proposed changes to the ethics, the Municipal Office of Ethics and Ethics Commission. So she is going to read through this, and what I would like us to do as a commission is I would like everybody to hold their questions to the end so we can fully hear the proposal. If you have any questions, please mark them on your document so that when we do go back over it, you'll have your questions ready. But I would really like to have her go through everything prior to us having a discussion. Does that suit everybody? Okay, thank you.
Everyone has a copy of this proposal?
No. Oh. Will in a minute.
That's why I asked the question.
I'm gonna be putting documents here so that if people come in late, they can get them. What do you have something?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yes. What is?
Oh, yes, so you do have it, okay. And did Tom give you the one he has?
That's how you should, this is the one we're going to discuss.
And I need to move some stuff today. Okay. So,
All right.
thank you. I'm going to turn it over to Commissioner Martin to share the proposal.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I just wanted to give a little bit of history that, of how this kind of came to pass. As Faith mentioned, it was her vision and John's vision to create, as we go through the charter and try and make the charter of the city stronger, one of the most important things was to turn to the Ethics Commission and bring that as a top priority to strengthen it to the table, to speak on behalf of the people of the city. The commission was originally formed 40 years ago under Tom Busey, and its lifespan, first of all, is 40 years now, or 40 plus, and it's really a commission that, for the most part, does some of the logistics for appointments to boards and commissions, and there's not a whole lot more that goes on there. And so to get to the core of things, we felt as though we needed to develop a strong code of ethics so that there's actually some meat to it, and so that people are held accountable for their actions, whether they are citizens, whether they are elected officials, whether they are employees, that we can all come to the table. And so we sat down and tried to pull together as well as we could, some structure to this proposal. And so I'll go through the different elements, and as Faith said, we'll try and just get through it without just reading it to you, but hold your questions. There's a lot of work to be done from our point of view. You know, there's a lot of input that needs to come into it. So we're really hoping to tackle this tonight and be able to say to the people of the city that we think that ethics is a very important issue that needs to have some teeth. And as you pointed out, John, the proposal is to develop our municipal office of ethics governed by the Ethics Commission. So to start with, we're talking about membership, appointments, and qualifications. The composition of the Ethics Commission would consist of 5 members, each appointed as follows: 2 Democrats, 2 Republicans, and 1 unaffiliated voter. And then all the nominees obviously have to be registered in their respective parties for at least a year before they're nominated. And then a quorum, of course, is 3 members if you have 5. And if a member of the commission has a conflict of interest, that member must recuse themselves and not participate in the matter before the Ethics Commission for which they are conflicted. The term length, to speak of 2, 3, and 4 years as designated upon initial appointment, so that we so that we ensure continuity and we avoid availability of quorum. If someone is no longer a member, if we keep it staggered, we're not going to have all 5 members having their appointments expire at the same time. And one really important piece of this, the qualifications of the membership of this commission, that they have credentials that support and give them wisdom and knowledge in regards to ethics. So perhaps lawyer, judge, an accountant, a college professor specializing in ethics. There may be other fields of work that people do, but to assure that we have some experience in the law and in being able to present evidence or information, those kinds of things. And then 1 member would be a member of the general public who does not come from any specific profession, but they demonstrate a strong commitment to ethical governance. The nomination process, the members would be nominated by the mayor and confirmed by a 2/3 vote of the city council. And if a vacancy occurs by expiration of term, resignation, removal, or death, the mayor shall appoint a replacement within 2 months. And if the mayor fails to make that appointment within the 2 months, then the council shall nominate and fill the position within another 2 months. And if the city council fails to make an appointment within this period, the Ethics Commission would appoint a qualified person to fill that vacancy. Each member's term begins the date of the confirmation by a vote of the city council. Resignation, removal, or death of a member begins on the day of their resignation, removal, or death. And then, of course, the conflict of interest. No person shall be eligible for appointment to the Ethics Commission if they are a current employee of the city, a relative of a city employee, a lobbyist, a contractor, or a developer doing business with the city. A manager, a director, a supervisor, a municipal public official, a union official, or union staff shall not be eligible. So then just to move into the nuts and bolts of the office itself, and that the city, obviously, we would need to have the city provide office space, equipment, furniture, and all the necessary resources, computers, and all of that. And then the commission shall have the authority to hire and terminate its own personnel consistent with the applicable city ordinances and state laws. Personnel requirements, what we would like to see put together is a director of the Ethics Commission who's responsible for overseeing operations, personnel management, and program development. An office clerk or administrative assistant who is responsible for the administrative tasks and record keeping. An attorney who would be responsible for providing legal counsel to the commission. An investigator responsible for conducting investigations into alleged ethical violations. An accountant or budget analyst responsible for oversight of required financial disclosures and to participate in investigation of financial matters alleged in a complaint. The accountant shall also serve as a budget analyst to oversee the budget related to the matters of that office. and then an education outreach coordinator responsible for public outreach and educational programming related to the Code of Ethics. Now, I know that this is a very lofty list of personnel, and we have no thoughts that this is going to happen on day one, but this is a document we're trying to create for the life of this this municipal office. So some of them may be part-time, some of them may be non-existent for the moment, some of them may be, you know, there are certainly plenty of ways, but to start with, certainly we need a director. And as it's noted, the director shall have authority to combine roles or create part-time positions as necessary to meet demand and resource constraints. The job description and responsibilities of the director shall be responsible for developing specific job descriptions and responsibilities for each of the above listed positions, and those will be approved by the Ethics Commission. Budget development. So this gets now into the time frame that we're looking to see this thing grow and build. Build is probably a better word. So on February 15th of next year, the new Ethics Commission shall be constituted and all 5 members shall be seated. Then the current Ethics Commission shall remain in effect until the new Ethics Commission is formally established. The city is required to provide adequate funding for the positions of the director and clerk for the Office of Ethics. The city shall further provide adequate funding for the job search for a director and a clerk. The hiring of the director by that time, a couple months later, April 15th. Budget approval, then the director would develop a proposed budget for the office, which would then be reviewed and approved by the Ethics Commission. And then submission to the city council for approval, and then the approval expected by July 1st, 2027. So the office itself would not be up and running until the following year, till July of 2027. Then the
26, that's a typo.
whoa. I'm
2026.
sorry.
Yep, it should
Oh,
say.
boy. Yes, that's a
That's
big.
July of 2026.
Sorry. Yes. So now, in regards to the responsibilities of the commission, the development and oversight of the municipal code of ethics. The commission shall develop, implement, and periodically review a comprehensive municipal code of ethics applicable to all city employees, public officials, lobbyists, contractors, and others subject to the city's regulation. They provide education, outreach, and compliance. The commission shall design and implement an ongoing educational program to ensure that city employees, public officials, lobbyists, contractors, and other stakeholders are aware of the ethical standards set forth in the Code of Ethics and other relevant regulations. Complaint resolution process. The commission shall establish formal procedures for handling ethical complaints, including receiving complaints, conducting investigations, holding hearings, and issuing written decisions. Confidential investigation and confidential probable cause hearing, and if probable cause is found, a public hearing to determine if a violation has occurred. This is, of course, to maintain the integrity of people who are wrongly accused, and if it's found to be without merit, you know, that they would not be publicly, that would not be aired publicly until it was established that it needed to go further. Financial disclosure and compliance. The commission shall ensure compliance with all financial disclosure and reporting requirements for lobbyists, public officials, municipal department directors, and supervisors. And then provide advisory services. The commission shall establish a system through which individuals subject to the Code of Ethics may consult with the commission personnel to seek advice and clarification on potential ethical issues or concerns to avoid unintentional violations. Then we go to penalties and enforcement. The fines, the commission would have the authority to levy a fine of up to $250 for each violation of the Code of Ethics. Appeals. Any individual found in violation of the Code of Ethics may appeal the final decision of the commission to the appropriate court. Referral for criminal investigation. If the commission's investigation reveals potential criminal conduct it shall refer the matter to the state's attorney's office for further investigation. A copy of the commission's findings shall be forwarded to the city attorney for their review and appropriate action. Final decisions of the Ethics Commission shall be documented in writing, approved by a majority vote of the commission, and made publicly available. Copies of the final decision shall be sent to the city attorney's office and the Department of Human Resources. The enforcement of fines, in cases where the fines are imposed and remain unpaid, the attorney for the commission is authorized to pursue legal action to collect the unpaid fines through the appropriate court proceedings. And then just general provisions, severability. If any provision of this ordinance is found to be invalid or unconstitutional, the remainder of the provisions shall remain in full force and effect.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That was a lot.
I have a lot of questions.
Oh. I think I've marked up this document more than any document.
So perhaps a limit on the number of questions and then not rotating things so one person doesn't monopolize.
Yes, so let's just, thank you. One question each and we'll keep going around. Or do you have more than like 2, 3, what is your?
Why don't we start with?
I can just do
Why don't we
it.
just start with you?
I can do a bang list. It's
Well,
gonna
that's
take
what we
a
expect.
while. Yeah.
So why don't we just start with 3 questions each, and then we move to the next person at a round table.
Okay.
So Taisha,
All right, so I have, the member qualifications, let's start there. So 1 member shall be selected from the general public. Is that member one of the 5? So is it one of the 5 members, or is this an additional member?
no, that would be one of the 5.
Okay, so that just has to be clarified, because that's not clear. And are the folks that you're seeking to employ, are these city employees?
The director.
Yeah, the director, the clerk,
They would become city employees, yes.
okay.
That does apply to part-time, same application, whether it be part-time or full-time.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, so I just have a few comments on this section in general. To job descriptions, that sort of thing, where people are put classification comes from civil service. This probably should remain consistent with that. And it appears to combine, which is what I think is confusing me a little bit. It combines the commission and the staff kind of like all in one.
You're separate.
Yeah, and they should be separate, but the way it's written, it's almost like the commission bleeds into the office a little bit too much. Like typically boards aren't that active in the day-to-day process of the office, the operations, right? They are typically responsible for policy and advice and hearings and that sort of thing, and they would delegate their operational authority to their director. So the director should probably be the person, and it's not a director of the Ethics Commission. I think it's more of the director of the office of the ethics, right? And so that person would be responsible for, at least in my mind, staffing the office.
That's a great point.
As opposed, okay. And I'll stop there, and I'll let Tom. Oh, just one more thing, the last page, severability, it exists in the general provision, so we don't need to put it twice. In the beginning of the charter, we speak to severability.
Thank
All right.
you very much. Commissioner Gaudet?
Hold on, give me a second. Okay.
Okay, first of all, thank you for doing this. I'm gonna start with what I like about it, because I have a lot of proposed changes and concerns about this document as it's drafted. I really like most of sections 4 and 5, which is the meat of what the commission's supposed to be doing. So I love that we're adding finding authority, can refer criminal investigations, decisions need to be in writing, an appeals process. They're supposed to be doing education and outreach, they have a complaint process. That to me sounds like the stuff the commission's doing. I would beef up these sections with I finally got a very weak response from the State Office of Ethics. Not what I was hoping
this
for.
morning, yeah.
Is that where this
Finally
comes
got
from?
an email, no, I got this is something, I'll talk about that in a minute. But with some bullet points of like things that an ethics, either charter provision or ordinance might touch on about like, you know, accepting gifts from people and doing that. Like, she had like a tick list of like things you might want to mention. So we might be able to incorporate some of those ideas in sections 4 and 5 to beef those up anymore. Okay. My concerns, though, are numerous. One is I don't think well, first of all, when it comes to the staffing, I think, quite frankly, if this office had one person, that would be a miracle. And I mean that just because, quite frankly, you know, you should see some of the meetings that we're having. I just met with the budget co-chairs, the council president, and the mayor today about our budget coming up. You see what's going on with the Board of Education right now. We couldn't possibly, ever in a million years, afford to have this team. Even if we had one, that would be such a proactive measure on the part of the city of Bridgeport. And I was going to ask, maybe I'll just pause there for a second and ask, are you aware of any town or city that actually has a staff member that does ethics for the town, that actually, not just the commission members that are appointed, but actually has staff, because we may be, if we did this, the only one.
And that's fine.
Impressive.
That's fine.
That's
Yeah, oh yeah,
amazing.
but I'm just wondering if anyone else had it, if you really know.
I know in research that I did that Philadelphia, Rochester, and Providence all have offices of public integrity. Most of them are staffed by one person, which is the public integrity officer. So I haven't seen one with this extensive of the staff, which was sort of one of my concerns. It seemed that it's amazing, but it's lofty. Another, you know, I think just having maybe one to start, an administrative executive person who can do those types of things, at least to get it off the ground. But you know, I know those are the urban centers that seem to have at least created the executive office, but it seems to be a one-person show.
And so my proposal around this would be similar to, and we'll talk about this at our next 2 meetings, it says in the charter that the legislative branch can create an office, there's a legislative services office that can have staff. Leaves it open-ended. So like it can grow, it can shrink, you can have, they can change the position, the level of the position, the pay, there's a whole civil service process, leave it open-ended. And let's start with, I guess, Joe, you're proposing, which is having that sort of executive director, or what some might call a clerk to the commission type person that kind of fills these roles. And if there's money, then wonderful. And if there's will to move, you know, beef it up, then it goes through the normal process and that can happen. I think this is, I wouldn't want to prescribe this, certainly in the charter. That goes to another point, which is, I was curious, in section 6, in addition to Taisha's point about severability is already covered in the charter, it says, if any provision of this ordinance, and so I wasn't sure if you meant this to be an ordinance and there was something else in the charter, or whether this was going into the charter directly.
No, that-
Severability, they came out of AI. So,
I see the formatting.
we pretty much can take that out of there.
That can come out completely.
That could be omitted completely, because this would not be an ordinance, this would actually be part of the charter.
Okay.
But
So-
I think, can I just say one thing about your first comment about the list of employees, to simply change from shall to may? In the Ethics Commission may employ the following positions as opposed to shall. I mean, that kind of sums it up.
I guess you could do that.
I guess my question is, wouldn't we want to get to this point with this robust of personnel? Wouldn't we want to get there at some point?
I think that it's not the way city government kind of works. Like, people don't have individual tasks. Like, it seems that these people are all doing something very specific, where if this feels like maybe 2 people's job, or, you know, like, some of this can get combined. You know, the budget analysts, we don't really need a budget analyst within a department. We have a whole budget department, right? I mean, some of it is already covered, and the attorney send over a request for legal services to the city attorney's office, and somebody will help you with your legal issue, right? So a lot of this already exists within the city. And you don't need to recreate the wheel for those positions. But it really does feel like maybe one or two people. These people would be bored, and they wouldn't have enough I don't think there's gonna be enough to do for, for multiple people to have this job so narrowly focused.
Even with the fact that the director shall have the authority to combine roles and create part-time positions if necessary?
Well, that seems to be adding, and I'm trying to shrink.
No, I
No, it
don't
says
think that's-
combine.
Yeah, maybe
Yeah.
combine the roles, definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't think there's gonna be 8 people in this office.
Okay.
at all. I mean, when I say we, I shouldn't say it like that. I certainly didn't expect, to me, it would start with one, maybe, the director. And
Right,
the
right,
director
right.
is wearing a million hats. What we've done here, though, is to describe the different hats that need to be worn.
Okay,
And what the expectation would be from the people of the city that would be handled in this office.
Yeah, so I think you're saying like the functions to be performed, not
Yes.
necessarily who should perform them.
Well, then
Fair to say.
I wouldn't use the word employ then. I would just say, the responsibilities of the ethics office, not even the committee, because by the way, it says the ethics commission shall employ. It would say the ethics office, or whatever we're calling this office, their functions shall be, and list their functions or duties or responsibilities more generically. And then, again, make that sort of open-ended statement that they can and should have staff. And like, Attorney Thomas brings up a great point. Like last year, one of the biggest priorities of the city and the state legislature adopted new language to strengthen fair rent commissions because rent was out of control. People were struggling, people were being evicted, all this stuff, right? We recreated our commission and hired one clerk that probably makes in the 50,000s or whatever. And that was monumental, huge priority of the city at the time, right? And I can give you a book as big as this about the city's priorities and the things we'd love to fund. And so I just don't want to overdo it, and especially prescribe, right? Because the charter, we have to follow it. And I worry about over-prescribing in the document.
So can I, so if we were to change this up, do the descriptions, at least for these positions, meet the needs of this office? And maybe taking away the direct, well, we need that, but the attorney, the
No,
investigator.
the attorneys needed to.
Okay.
No, but I mean,
Individually?
What we're looking to have is an attorney that's not employed by the city of Bridgeport, almost
That-
like on a per diem.
Well, then you'd get a grievance from the city attorneys union, because the city attorneys union requires that they're the only attorneys for the city of Bridgeport. So that wouldn't work without a change to their collective bargaining agreement.
So then we can expect that a city attorney would be
Assigned.
to. That's right. See, it's greatly appreciated the points you're bringing up. We tried our best to go through piece by piece. So what you're bringing up are very logical points. So.
oh, and don't take it, trust me, I mean, this is
No,
great.
it's
We're gonna, like I
great.
said, there's some
Oh, no,
sections
yeah, I
of this
think
I'm
it's
in love with, and I think we should add more to. But there's certain,
And it's
certain things like personnel. I'm worried
truly,
about.
truly appreciated.
Yeah.
So with the, so rather than having a personnel section,
Like I said, I would, for section 2, I think what you were saying, the spirit of it was that you wanted to, 1, allow for personnel and staff. We should find that language from legislative services and literally copy that. It's like a sentence, but it covers it. Because then the rest is left up to the legislative process and, budgets and, and this thing evolves over time, and that's a good thing. And then talk about, since you're creating the office, what are its duties and responsibilities, similar to the duties and responsibilities that the clerk of the Fair Rent Commission has to the Fair Rent Commission. What are the duties of the Office of Ethics to the Ethics Commission? And so, listing those duties and responsibilities, I think is the spirit of what you were looking to
Yes.
do, and I
Yes,
think that's great.
exactly.
Yeah.
so just removing those people, but keeping those responsibilities?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
And then I would-
Where were we then? We're still with you, right?
If you'll indulge me.
One more
One more
question, and then we
Yeah,
have to
that's
see
good.
what other people's thoughts are.
2, that's a big 2.
No, it's good,
Well, I was
because
gonna-
this is positive input.
Yeah.
to what we're
Well,
talking
on a
about.
related note, and I'll shut up, I have some minor tinkering with page 1, but Section 3, I would kill entirely. Because I just think, again, some of this, I think, is in conflict with other charter provisions about like creating government budgets and things like that. I just think that's all covered already. I think, saying like when it's gonna be, I just think upon the adoption of this commission, the mayor should appoint.
Well, we already addressed that.
Well, yeah.
With
So
the
can I
mayor,
ask-
the council, so on and so forth. This part of this whole budget process
Yeah.
was to ensure that in 2026,
Yeah.
that the commission is seated, and at least a director and a clerk are funded.
But
All
we're in
right? And it's
budget.
up against, it was trying to deal with the time constraints that we have in the budget process.
And if this doesn't belong here, does it belong in an ordinance? Does it belong somewhere else? Where
We
does
just,
that
yeah,
belong?
our point was to ensure that this office and this commission was created and in place in 2026. And moving on from July 1st of 2026, it's fully funded the way, whatever we end up coming up
Okay.
with.
Well, this actually creates another funky problem, which I hadn't even considered till you said that, which is,
But
we've
it's not.
got an ethics commission already, which is constituted by ordinance of the people that sit on it. So we'd essentially be firing those people.
Well, this,
No,
and
we
it-
still
well,
want
it
the
says,
commission, don't
it says that the ethics commission, the present ethics commission will remain in effect
Okay.
until the new commission is formed. The reason that we're going after a new type of commission is because we want to have it sitting on it, judges, lawyers, so on and so forth, that are versed in the law and versed in ethics. That's ensuring that you have a professional ethics commission. Not that ours is not professional, but we want one that's more, you know the word I'm trying to look for, that has more meat to it. So we're looking for, we're sure that we could get a judge to sit on this ethics commission. I'm sure we could get a lawyer to sit on this ethics commission. That gives it its authority. That in and of itself, in my mind, is extremely important.
John?
Sorry, guys.
Joe?
Joseph, I'm sorry.
Joe.
Just along that point, two concerns that I have with that. One is you have two separate qualifications for the commission, right? Very first section is that you have it broken down by political party, and then you have these experienced restrictions. So which party gets the general public member, right? I mean, that's what you gotta run into. You gotta run into to have, you're looking to have a member of the general public. I'm also concerned because it is a public commission formed in the city charter that we are that restricted in the ability of people to serve on it. I agree with the concept, but I think you're gonna have a struggle there because again, if one person leaves and one seat is open, you can very well have some conflict in how that commission is formed and seated. So I do think we just need to sort of clarify the party status of the people on the commission, and while I appreciate the membership qualifications, I think it's a little too strict for a public commission.
Commissioner Lee?
To that point, why, when we look at the numbers today, do we have one party getting two members with 42,000 registered voters? We have another party who's getting two members with 5,500 voters. And we have all the rest of registered voters, another 20,000, having one chance. Why don't we just throw out the party line stuff and create it with a no more than, right? Isn't that language you use
You
sometimes?
both brought up my next 2 points, which is great.
Well,
Save me the time.
our goal, the goal here was to try to create a balance.
Now, I understand,
representation.
but I put my question to you. How do you get balance out of having
That's fine.
two?
Yeah, that's fair.
That's absolutely understandable. It's just, what it was going by is just like our commission is made up right now, minority representation from Democrats, Republicans, and unaffiliates. All right? So it was based on that. If we have to throw out Republican, Democrat, and unaffiliated, that's not a problem. The issue would be 5 members, so that it doesn't become unwieldy.
So maybe, if I may, the way to deal with that problem is to say no more, like this commission is set up under statute, it says no more than a bare majority. That's the language that you, I mean, to John's point, there's a general statute that says, based on the size of the commission, it's like a 2/3, 1/3, no more than 2/3 of a commission can be made up of one political party. But if you want to be even more restrictive, you don't set a quota by party. Because by the way, you say unaffiliated here, so anyone who's a member of the Green Party, Independent Party, or whatever would have no chance, right? So I agree that, I think if you really are trying to be strict about it, no more than a bare majority of any one party, and don't specify anything, I think that would be the
Very
middle
good.
ground.
That's a great point.
That's
Thank
great.
you.
And I want to second Joe's point here. I mean, look, as of Friday, I'm going to be a lawyer myself, and I'm glad you think that's very impressive, but I think that's a little too much, and I really have to speak
Wait,
up.
what section are you talking about?
I'm talking, I think Joe was referencing
Qualification.
section 4.
Section
the first
1,
bullet.
paragraph 4.
And I just think, there are some great people that serve on our Ethics Commission now. The Ethics Commission today is not necessarily ineffective because those people don't care, don't know how to sit in a hearing and listen to a complaint. It's they have no power. Nobody sends them anything. They have no staff, etc. So I think this document puts too little faith in like the average citizen. I mean, look at us around the table, right? They didn't ask for lawyers and judges and doctors necessarily, although this is an impressive group to be, we're just average citizens. I don't think this document should make this commission the shining city on a hill, you know what I mean? I kind of feel the same way that Joe does, it's a little too much.
I see where you're coming from, but you understand what you're trying to create.
I do, but my point is that in the last 20-plus years, I think any citizen who opened the paper and read some of the things that have happened would say, wow, that's wrong, right? Or, I think ethics, I think, a good majority of the citizens of Bridgeport can come to a reasonable conclusion as to what is and what is not ethical behavior. So while I do, again, I think that this background could have merit, I just think it's too restrictive in this.
If I were the mayor, I would appoint any one of you to be on this commission, and that's the point, is that any one of you is qualified.
So, just a quick question about, that. I totally lost my train of thought. It'll come back.
We can tone,
Come back to me.
that section, in order to be fair, can actually be toned down.
Oh, yeah.
I take
Now I
those
got it.
points well.
It's back.
Yes.
We take those points well.
So, my AK back. I think what you're probably looking for is expert advice, but the entire commission doesn't need to be experts, right? You just need one, and you probably just need to send it out to get that advice, right? You could send it to the city attorney's office, we can research your issues, so you will get guidance from a lawyer. But you don't need to have a whole commission of those people. Yeah.
If anything, it builds up your need to have a public integrity officer or somebody who can work with the commission through these types of issues. City attorney's office designates an attorney to help. Because then I think you'll have that from the outside looking in, and you'll have a good seated commission of Bridgeport residents.
This is beautiful.
Just a point, we worked very hard on this, and all your advice on this is actually fitting in exactly where all of us need to go on this. I think if we go out of this meeting and show that our number one concern in the city of Bridgeport is ethics, then we have done a very good job. And all the advice and what we proposed here, I think is very good for the city of Bridgeport.
And the recommendations that you have shared, I think, put this proposal in a more positive light as well. We're not
Thank you.
putting the current commission, we're not saying that they're inadequate. So I think your suggestions are very
Son,
good.
wait, Commissioner Lee?
Is there when you had terms, the term length, how about number of terms?
Thought about putting a limit on like a term limit on it, but we don't have that in any place.
Was that discussed?
it was thought about, but for right now, for commissions and boards, and even as high as the mayor's office and any office, we have a term limit, so we didn't see a right to put a term limit on it at this point, unless we go to, that we've discussed for boards and commissions, putting on term limits.
Okay.
And it might apply there.
So you'll come back to that
We can come back.
and implement that discussion. Okay. If we look at the history, and the feeling that people who have sat on the Ethics Commission have either felt, hey, there's nothing to do, no reason to meet and worry about a quorum. I guess what I'm asking on page 2, right up at the top, 6, conflict of interest and eligibility, and page 3, section 4.1, are party officials any part of the aspect of interest, regulation, enforcement?
So you're talking about a Democratic or Republican chairman not being
Or,
eligible for this?
any of the 90 members, if there are 90 members, because there's very little publicly that is communicated, it's transparent and open here in the city. There's very little discipline apparent from governing body, state, or whatever, and yet an awful lot of what we've had is problems, and this goes over multiple terms of elections with ethical behavior and responsiveness that ends up in the courts rather than being reviewed by a body like this. So are the Democratic and Republican leadership, are they public officials, such as are distinguished here? Question.
I believe they are. Are they not?
Actually, we have the answer to that. So we have to look into that, remember? The answer is no.
Be-
They're party, the term part is party official.
I've listened to meetings here where public officials, very specific, are either appointed or elected people, right?
Well, party officials.
No, public officials.
Public officials can be, yeah, they can be appointed
Elected or appointed.
Yeah.
But what I'm talking about are people who are outside of definition, perhaps here. But I'm asking, why are they outside when they have a hand in, or multiple hands in, hands full of documentation?
So your recommendation would be that they can't be members of a Democratic or Republican party? About
Any
meaning
town
committee? Town committee?
Town committees or party committees that run
Yeah.
People for office?
Independent parties association.
Is that,
That, to me, that does make sense.
I'm just asking for clarification.
It makes sense
Because
to
it's,
include
yeah, it is an
that.
association as opposed to a position.
Yeah, my concern, and I was just kind of whispering to Taisha, was, people have a First Amendment right to association. And the question is, because they're not holding a public capacity necessarily, it's a party capacity, is discrimination on this commission or any body of the city saying if you're a party official, you can't participate, is that a violation of your First Amendment right? I don't know, we'd have to research that.
Yeah.
That would be the only hesitation. to what you're saying. Otherwise, I don't care, I don't necessarily
My
disagree.
problem is that if the freedom to speak is, on the other side, is the freedom to be quiet, and they're exercising their right to be quiet and silent. Yes? In the face of all the news.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, I haven't talked this out with anybody, it's just, I went and worked with the committee, but I just see this as a sore point in the public. And I'm raising it, that's all.
And I don't necessarily disagree with anything you said.
I
I just wonder if
understand.
it's barred by any.
Totally understand.
Yeah.
And I'm looking for the wisdom and the official capacity of my friends. Okay? Thank you. And I'd rather open this up in a Q&A where we're on tape and nobody, and the whole thing has been raised and perhaps settled at some point. Okay?
Commissioner, go ahead.
Thank you for your thoughts.
Going to the, John had started talking about the term length, so section 3. So this section needs a little work, and I understand why. This always is the clunkiest part of any ordinance. I've seen many of these, and again, keep bringing up the Fair Rent Commission. We had to do this too, because we had to recreate it from scratch, and you need to stagger the terms. So the first people that get appointed all can't be appointed at the same time. But what's happening here is that this starts off the commission, but doesn't even tell us like how long the terms are.
I think it does suggest, it does say.
It does, down
It
here,
does say
3
that.
years, 4
Term
years.
length.
It does say it.
Yeah, but we don't, but that's to start.
On the appointment, you 5 members. On the appointment, one would be for 2 years, one would be for 3 years. Those appointments like that way, that staggers it. They get appointed at the same time, but they're appointed for.
But then how long is their term after, for the reappointment, how long is the term?
Your original appointment, 2 years for one person, 3 years for another person.
Okay, so you're appointed, so we're starting the commission today. You're appointed for 2 years, you're appointed for 3, and Joe's appointed for 4. Ready? 2 years from now, your appointment comes up again. You want to be reappointed. How long is your term? How long are you going to be reappointed for?
It's an interesting.
Because it doesn't say, so in other words, what this section needs to say is, the term of a commissioner shall be X number of years, but the initial terms have to be stated, and maybe we can use the Fair Rent Commission or one of these that does it. There's a way to do it. I see exactly what you're doing.
WPCA does this.
Yeah.
And I think we should probably use that as guidance.
So in other words, what would happen is like everyone would get a 4-year term, except in the beginning because you want them to be staggered.
Right.
And so there needs to be a separation between the provision that starts the commission going and then just how long the term is generally.
Yes.
And if you were to consider, after looking at everything, term limits, then it would be 2 or 3 or some number of full term limits, or full term served, not to throw in a 2-year term plus a 4-year and say, you got 2 full terms, okay? I want everybody to have a chance at that full term if you consider a limit a good thing, because people do fall asleep.
Well, to John Hosier's point, I think we discussed term limits for commissions generally.
Yes.
And we never
we'll
adopt
come back
that.
to it.
So the question is, do we adopt that as part of a thing for all commissions, or do we just do it for this one?
No, my thinking has come out of looking at all boards and commissions.
And then if I could just throw one more thing out there, and I think I'm done.
God, are you limited?
Wait, you said you're almost done?
Go ahead.
Really?
Member nomination, yeah, we're nearing the end. Member nomination process, it says, I don't mind that, this is like planning and zoning, it's very rare, but it requires 2/3 of the council to confirm, but I think that would be 14 votes, not
Okay.
15 votes.
We were trying to figure that out last night, thank you. Thank you.
And then like, I think that next bullet, like the vacancy thing, I just think everything else should follow the general provision. So like term limits, what happens if there's a vacancy? How do you remove somebody from office? Should just follow what every single other board and commission does. And we've been working on that chapter 2 section, talking about boards and commissions and residency requirements and stuff. I don't see any reason why this should make new rules for this commission that apply to all commissions, you know what I mean? So I would get rid of the next 2
Is there a
bullets.
possibility that we could take that language for all commissions?
Well, we gotta
We're
come
just-
back and discuss it, don't we?
Yeah,
What?
this is it. Let's finish our discussion, and I have a resolution to present.
Why?
Perhaps, yeah, but I wouldn't do it here. I think we heard language from the city attorney back weeks ago, proposed language on like, you know, the mayor appoints, but if the appointment is not made within a certain time, the council may, blah, blah, blah. There was a whole procedure to it that we were considering.
That's what we were trying to put into
Yeah.
this, exactly. So that we ensure that an appointment happens in a certain period of time. And I think that should apply also to all commissions.
Well, with regards to the term, are you done, Tom? Okay, so with regards to the term, just in the Parks Board section, ironically, the term of office of the members of the commission shall be 3 years, which shall commence on the first day of January. Those terms shall be staggered so that no more than 3 terms expire annually. So I think that's what you're attempting to accomplish. Yeah, you just take it from your other board.
There you go.
And I'm sorry, what was that part, the language you just read was for?
It is from Chapter 19, Section 5B.
Thank you.
Commissioner Lee?
Did everybody have a chance to ask a question?
Any questions?
Anyone for the first time?
Okay. So I do,
Do I need to recognize the people who have come into the room? So, Commissioner Pastor Moises Gonzalez is here, and Aisha Wright, Commissioner Aisha Wright Abdullah is here.
Commissioner Moise, did you get all this paperwork?
Yes, I gave it to them.
Okay.
so I would like to introduce an additional idea in terms of purpose of ethics, because the fact that we all assume that we can find 5 people in the community who could serve, or the fact that some of us are willing to say that anyone in this room would be able to serve according to the work and abilities that are shown here and the interest. I'd like to add one additional thing because what we're trying to create is something that will be long-term in nature. And I've been working on the notion that if no people are not happy with the ethics issue, but people are curious totally about the civics issue. And I wonder whether we can purpose the ethics committee with, in some way, being responsible to the community for civics, call it training, call it information, being available to the public, because it is that which grounds the willingness to come out and serve in boards and commissions, that comes out and in terms of respectable public behavior, that is not worrying about getting before an ethics commission, that understands what conflicts of interest may be, that understands that yes, you have your rights, but you got your responsibilities and duties too. So I'd like to suggest that that we put in just a general statement, no bodies, nothing else. I'd be happy to offer something.
Thank you. But if you do turn to page 2, where we are now removing personnel requirements, but if you look at the bottom, part of the responsibilities that we want to have with this office is an education outreach component to it. So it would be great if you could elaborate on that piece.
Civics.
That we can add to it.
Thank you.
So in section 2.3 personnel requirements, we're just gonna
That's
we're just gonna encompass the
responsibilities.
responsibilities, not actual positions. Okay? That's so. What?
Responsibilities of the office.
I think it's necessary that we have personnel that's dictated as director and or clerk. Correct?
Right.
I think, we can agree that we would like a clerk and a director, at least.
or at least a direct, let's start with the director,
Well, like,
as part of just,
in the charter, for instance, I impress upon you the importance of leaving it open-ended for the legislative process, but I'll point to the legislative section.
Tell us the page.
Let's see,
Section,
well, I guess it's gonna be somewhere in chapter 5, right, so.
section 5. We gave titles, so it should be easier.
Yes,
Uh,
that's gotta be part of our change, we gotta put subheadings.
Maybe
here.
6,
6?
section 6.
Well, it just says the city council may by ordinance provide for the establishment of a nonpartisan office of legislative services to assist the members of the council in the performance of their official duties. There is now, so that's all it says.
So
It
now
says,
we- now
there's an
we-
office and they can hire staff.
And
And
we-
now we have an office, they have one staff now, and they hired that person back at least a budget season or 2 ago, and now they're looking in this budget season, maybe add another person, and what they exactly needed in the job description, how much the person made, went through civil service in the budget process. And so it happened naturally as things evolved, and they kind of figured it out, but the charter didn't say how to do it. And I think
So
that's.
your point would be exactly to replicate what was written right there into the Ethics Commission office.
Yep, so that would be chapter 5, section 6, I would copy that.
That's perfect.
Wait, chapter 5?
Section 6.
Oh, okay. Section 6. Okay, thank you.
Oh, he's got that
I
look.
forgot, I
Tom.
got, I got 2 more, I missed it, sorry.
Go
all
ahead,
right.
go ahead. Thank you, Tom.
I think we're making
On a
progress.
roll.
You started us off well. At least we have something to go off, right? This is great.
Yes.
I want to keep saying that I really appreciate this is great. I feel like I'm not trying to be a jerk. I'm
No,
trying
it's
to
fine.
make it good.
Your points have
None
been really.
none of your points have been negative, they've all been positive.
these-
Under section 4, but on the, so 1, 2, okay, section 4, bullet point, or subsection 3, bullet point 2, so you gotta flip the page. Confidential investigation and confidential probable cause hearing. I think that has to go, and the reason is because it's a violation of the Freedom of Information Act, I think. Anytime a public body meets to take any official action, it has to be out in the open unless it meets one of the requirements for an executive session. And this is not like, this almost looks like a grand jury process or something like that. It can kind of happen behind closed doors. I don't think that works, and I don't even think you want that. I think ethics commissions, unfortunately, like our own now and the future one, and the State Elections Enforcement Commission and all these commissions, they do their business out in the open. It's uncomfortable, but it's what they do. I mean, the Fair Rent Commission, they hear cases between parties that disagree with each other, and it's a little uncomfortable, but they have to do it out in the open because that's a public process. So I think that section has to go.
Okay.
And then right after it, I just had a question about what you meant by financial disclosures, because I can't think of any current financial disclosures of any kind, shape, or form for any appointed or elected person in any capacity anywhere. And I was just trying to think of what you might have meant by that.
I'm thinking financial interest in something.
Exactly.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
so you have to disclose if you have a financial interest.
I see.
Yeah.
Should we state that?
Is it fine the way it's written, Aisha?
I would revise it a little bit.
Well, there's a subpoena power somewhere.
Let's see.
I wonder whether maybe they could just have the power. Are they allowed to have subpoena powers over documents?
Well, council has subpoena power. It's given to them in the charter.
Can the city council compel me to provide tax returns?
No.
No.
So that's what I mean. So like, that would be a financial disclosure potentially, but I don't think this commission can do that.
Yeah, I think it should be financial interest. Your tax returns won't disclose your
Exactly.
financial interest.
We make it conflict of interest.
Yeah.
So we might need some tinkering around that a little bit.
Yeah. I think it's
So what are you
somewhere
talking
else.
about, John? Are you talking about if somebody brings in an income statement or a balance sheet
It's to show that the individual has no conflict of interest in regards to with the city or, you know, those kind of issues. And we're not asking for financial disclosures. If they have an investment in the city, we need to know that. Meaning if they, some sort of profit in the city. With the
Basically,
city,
your
any type
financial
of,
interest, benefit
any
from this.
financial interest,
Yeah.
exactly.
A little more there, please. So you're saying that a council person,
Council member will not be allowed on this commission.
oh, you're saying people on the commission, if they
Yeah,
have
please.
any kind of financial.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, go ahead. I apologize. I jumped.
No, tell me, because I was wrong. Go ahead, explain to me what.
No, we're talking about if somebody's being investigated.
One of the commissioners are being investigated.
I'm getting lost now.
So, this is under financial disclosure and compliance.
Okay, I'm looking at that.
So it's not,
So there's a
financial
complaint
disclosure, but it's
and
more
with an
about
allegation of
interest.
financial.
But who is the complaint against, the council or the
A
commission?
person, a person.
Any person.
Any person.
Okay, and there's a complaint against the person, and,
There's an allegation that it's financial.
okay.
I'm not getting that from this. What I'm getting is, you know how public officials need to register or
Yes,
provide a
lobbying.
document to the town clerk about their, you know, financial interests and their residency or their conflicts or whatever. That's what I'm thinking this is, not relative to any particular person or hearing, it's just generally.
Yeah.
I think what is specific to a particular person or hearing would just be a recusal, right? Because you have a conflict. This is just a general overall conflict that would prohibit you from serving on the commission. But I just want to read some language from our ethics ordinance currently, from standard of conduct and the general prohibition. No official or employee shall have any interest, financial or otherwise, direct or indirect, or engage in any business, employment, transaction, or professional activity, or incur any obligation of any nature which is in substantial conflict with the proper discharge of his or her duties or employment in the public interest, or his or her responsibilities as prescribed in the provisions of this charter. It says a lot of nothing, actually, but I think it's intended, it is intended to cover what you're seeking to cover. It could say it a little better, but I think that's the direction you're headed in.
Yes.
Okay. But it was cited recently with an issue where we said that an individual had a personal interest in a matter they were voting on, and we said, you're obligated under this provision to step aside. Now, how do you enforce that, and what teeth the commission has, I think is really important, which is really why I like the fine and the whole, you know,
Tommy,
complaint
how
process
did you
and
guys
stuff.
know this about that person? Did they,
You know, someone reported it.
Someone brought it to light, and
They didn't bring-
it was
they
part
didn't-
of public document, it was well.
but they didn't bring it to light themselves?
No.
In regards to the teeth in enforcing the fines and stuff, I think it covers it. It was discussed last meeting. The attorney has that authority to take somebody to small claims court if that's the application. That's where you need to get the teeth to make sure that they pay their fines.
I know, but, I mean, we had about 650,000 in employment settlements last year. A $250 fine will hardly come to, like, it's just not gonna be a priority. It's not something that we're gonna wanna sue somebody over. I think we were discussing whether or not you could lien people, but there isn't a mechanism for that in the statutes. I'm still haven't got to, I'm not at the point where I can tell you how you give this real teeth. I think the idea of suing people in small claims court is not realistic.
But if we kept it in this proposal, at least it would still, some sort of mechanism would still exist.
Well, you would still have the fine. I think you can have the $250 fine. I thought what we were trying to figure out was, how do we make sure people pay it? Or what's the consequences if you don't? I'm not sure. I mean, what are the consequences for what's happening next door with the bus fines? Because that's what's going on. That was hearings for people.
They send it to collections, I guess.
They send you to, so
Or
maybe
they'll-
that's the answer.
Okay.
Yeah.
But can you do that on something like this, a civil judge? Well, it's civil judgment, no, it's not a judgment.
You know, we didn't get a judgment. We wouldn't go that far to get a judgment. I don't know, I'd have to think about that. I don't know off the top of my head.
Commissioner Lee?
So, because of the operation of people in the next room, where bus fines were, or bus infractions were brought to attention, bus fines became pregnant, bus parking, whatever, if a parking fine isn't paid in the 14 days you're given, it doubles. 250 doesn't get attention, let it double.
But if they didn't have $250,
No,
why
I-
would they have 500?
Well,
I mean, I just don't.
I hear the question, but if it's a financial issue, then what were they seeking, the big reward?
I have a better answer. I don't think we're
Good.
statutorily allowed to.
Okay.
And actually, that's one of my questions. I don't remember, nobody has cited the statute yet. There's rumor about it on good authority, because I hear other towns may have this, but I haven't seen it yet. But we can only allow the commission to fine if the state statute allows our commission to fine. And I heard that the limit, if one does exist, is 250.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so we can't.
It's 7148.
Oh, 7140? Oh,
Yeah, you have it, it's right there. It's in the front of Mednick's package. Yeah, that's it, there it is. It's
Yeah,
the
I called the
catch-all
state
of
ethics
municipal
commission
powers.
And asked that question, and so he answered.
Oh, yeah, oh, it says here, right, not to exceed $250. And it's funny, I skipped page one on my page two to read the meat of it.
Okay, so that has to be, just, it has to stay at 250 then?
Yes.
Yeah, it's nothing else we can do.
But, okay,
What was your thought?
so then it can, so somebody mentioned collections, are we thinking that it goes to collections if it's not?
I would like to see it double the way the parking tickets are double, but that's not allowed.
Well, it would be per violation that we put here, so if somebody's up on 3 or 4 violations, it would be $500, $1,000. It's per violation. So we're still questioning on the teeth on getting that money.
Yeah, we'll have to think about it. Because even when I think of, cars, stuff, I mean, it's relative to your car, so then we can boot you, right? But there's no connection to
We can
your
boot a person.
property relative to this. Right? So I'm not really sure. I mean, the simplest thing would be a judgment lien, but if people don't have property, then that doesn't really have any teeth either.
I think without that,
Yes.
unfortunately,
Yeah.
that's what's gonna add teeth to this, and I think we need to figure out a way to make that stick.
Yeah, I'll talk to Russell
Certain
and
people I
talk
can think
about
of
it.
that are
He's
racking
our
up a lot of
collections
fines.
guy. He'll figure out how to get money out of people.
True.
So I'll ask one of the attorneys in my office that handles this sort of work.
Any more questions or concerns?
Last one.
I
I keep, every time.
You
I
said
look
that
back,
last
I
time,
know.
Tom.
He said it like 4 times.
I'm a terrible
Oh, he
liar.
said
You don't say anything I say.
What section are we?
All right, section 1, last bullet, section,
We gotta go back.
I'm sorry, I'm all over
Okay, that's not
the
it.
document.
It's all right.
So section 1, subsection 6, conflict of
Page, the
interest.
second page, right?
No person shall be eligible for appointment at this commission if they are current, okay, so we have a lot of redundancy and/or words or terms that are
Second
way too
page.
broad. I wouldn't know what they mean. So for instance,
I'm sorry.
you with it? All right, so current city employee, check, that's fine. relative of city employee, what do you mean by relative? Is my great grandma or a second cousin or blah, 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 blah?
Son, daughter, husband.
Lobbyist.
So,
Immediate family?
immediate family.
Immediate family.
Do you mean, when you say lobbyist, do you mean, I don't think we have a single registered city lobbyist at all. There are obviously many state lobbyists, none of which we really interact with, I suppose we could. But what does lobbyist mean? Contractor, boy, that's a big word. I mean, we use the word contractor to refer to all kinds of people that do business. I mean, Alicia's Bakery is a contractor to the city when if we bought donuts for this meeting.
Mark Anastasi is a company.
Mark Anastasi is a contractor because
You
he's
can't
a
be.
contractor. Any developer doing business with the city. And then it says manager, director, supervisor, I'm not sure of what.
That within city government managers, because they have authority over contracts and discussion.
Well, I think you said no city employees, period, so you can just kill those. And then a municipal public official, I guess what you meant by that is to cover people that are not city employees but are elected.
Mhm, exactly.
And then union official or union staff, I don't know what you mean by that, because if they're working for the city and they're part of a union, they're already covered by the city employee thing, unless you meant.
You mean union officials themselves, like the president of the union, vice president of the union, so on.
That are non-city
Staff.
employees, so
They're-
like,
They're typically city
It's typically
employees.
staff.
because by this definition, you can have someone that's part of a nurses union at some hospital somewhere
Yeah, okay.
that's just a citizen, but she's a member of the union, so she'd be, you know what I mean? So I
Yes.
think some of these terms either just need to go
Can
or
can we
need to
just
be.
clear, we can clean that up.
So then we're saying no person shall be eligible for appointment to the Ethics Commission if they are currently a current city employee, an immediate family member of a city employee,
Municipal public
municipal
official.
public official. So we're taking out contractor,
No,
lobby.
let's deal with that. A contractor or developer seeking to do business with the city. Isn't that where you run into problems?
Doing business or seeking to do business?
Yeah. Isn't that where quid pro quos get quietly discussed? I'm raising, of course, I'm innocent and naive, but I believe what I read. And so seeking and finding is the element. I'm a salesman, so you need a lot of suspects to qualify, get down to a prospect, to do the deal. So what we're looking for is people who are, lobbyists are a handy way, and that's why they have been registered by the state or the feds, okay? But we don't do that here. But what we're doing is people who are friendly, and friends do things for other friends and no explanation. So seeking would be the word that I'd use. And if they weren't seeking, then whatever is being observed is social. And we can't limit, that's probably one of the Bill of Rights, your freedom of association, whatever. So,
I think I have an answer for this. On the SEC, State Election Enforcement Commission form, I'm trying to find it now, when you're donating for municipal office, the chief elected official, there's a box that you need to check. If you have a contract with the municipality that is greater than $5,000, maybe that language is something we could repeat, because it's something that already the SEC uses, and it's like a standard to measure against. You know whether or not you have a contract with the municipality over a certain amount or not, and it doesn't cover, small business owner or something like that you're not trying to get at, that may have,
Done business with the city.
may have provided flowers or donuts to a, what I mean? That's not what you're trying to get at. You're trying to get at the big boys that may have a financial
Yes.
interest in something, right?
That's
And I-
exactly.
yeah, exactly. So let me find that language. I'll find it. You don't need to wait for me.
I was
Oh,
gonna say,
yeah,
while
don't-
he's
don't look at
looking,
me.
I just wanted to encourage you all to take a look at our current ethics ordinance. I think there's a bit in there that you'd find helpful and you could adopt here in some way, shape, or form, that will help with some of these issues, because it's covered.
Any other comments, questions about this document?
So, by the way, the language I just found, it
Oh, you
says,
did?
the question is, do you have business with which you are associated, do you, or a business with which you are associated, excuse me, have a contract with the town, city, or borough in which the candidate is running that is valued at more than $5,000? So we would say something like, if the individual or business with which they're associated has a contract of more than $5,000 maybe.
A current contract,
Current.
or active, inactive.
Commissioners?
Now I wonder if that's kind of on
And
work
five.
for the business. So maybe it needs to be like a principal of that business.
Yeah.
Or, I like associated, and you're saying that won't hold up necessarily to define it rigorously. But associated, there are people around government here who are espousing actions of government that haven't been complained about yet necessarily. And they feel they're associated with, they'd have no problem. So the tighter you make that, if you force them to be an employee, are they going to get something out of it if the deal exceeds $5,000? That's the real issue. Is there a quid pro quo?
There's an asterisk here on the bottom of this form that says, a
I wish I
business.
could operate those little machines.
Thank you, John. I wish you could too.
He's already dangerous. He's got enough info.
A business with which you are associated refers to any business in which the contributor is a director, officer, owner, limited or general partner, or stockholder of 5% or more. So it's basically a principle thereof of the business, right? So that I think
And I
that
was
would be
looking for
reasonable.
something broader than that, but that's okay. That's
But
the-
this is something that we want in it, correct?
Well, I would have
Yes.
said anybody who's pursuing business with a city officer such that it does not appear, or it appears to be a conflict of interest, isn't that? We're
You know, here would be one of my first problems, right? We want lawyers to be on this commission. Well, almost every law firm in the city has done,
Yeah.
contracts with the city attorney's office as outside counsel at one point or another. Most of the lawyers that work in those offices probably aren't partners. But if you enact this rule, you won't get any attorneys because they're all gonna be conflicted under this provision. If you just say, oh, anyone who works for a business that does business with the city that makes over $5,000, and any employee thereof, down to the janitor, does
Well,
not.
so
But you
I
may get-
think-
I think
no, I
all
think
the
the
firms
principle,
have.
I think that
You may
should-
get a retired lawyer or a retired judge.
But I thought we moved away from that.
No, I'm just saying, I'm countering what Tom is
But-
saying.
All the firms don't, personal injury firms, do we do business with them?
Yeah.
Yeah, what do
We
you
have,
do with
we're an
them?
insurance company.
But if
We're
we
self-insured.
just say the principles can have it involved, that's in my mind, that's fine.
Yeah, I mean, what you're trying to do is you're trying to get at the people that have a true financial interest in it, just being an employee. I mean,
Yeah.
there are all kinds of people in our city that could sit on a commission that work for, I mean, let's start going through everybody's employer to figure out if they've ever worked at a job that did any kind of business with the city. Well, if you're not a principal of it, not gonna benefit from that contract, certainly those are the people we're trying to box out, That's my only concern. I just wanna be overbroad, someone works at the hospital, you know, they're a nurse, and somehow they're barred because the hospital did some business with, I don't know, you know, I'm trying to think of hypotheticals, but like, you can imagine all kinds of
Well, no,
people that wouldn't be
We
eligible.
do want to
That's
prevent
real.
the conflict of interest, but I think you bring up a good point with it being the principal of that business. Or-
Business, yes, the
Yeah.
principal. So everybody else is
And
good,
the five,
right?
and making more than $5,000.
But since you've mentioned the hospital example, I wonder how that works, right? Because the city was interested in doing business with the hospital to sell the high school, right? And who would be exempt, right? Who would be allowed to participate and who would be, you know, not allowed to participate in the hospital? I mean, obviously, you would want a nurse, but there's not one particular principle. It's not like we're gonna say, okay, well, the CEO can't do it. What about the directors? Like, how far down do you go in a corporate
Managers,
structure?
yeah, supervisors, yeah.
Just throwing it out there. I don't have any answers, just questions.
That's very particular, and I guess if we got to that point, down the line, so to speak, that we could deal with it then, but to deal with it right now, to be that
That
micromanaged,
Yeah.
I think that,
But if you're gonna preclude a principle of a business, you've gotta think about all businesses
Then what's
of
the-
all sizes.
then all we need to say is we come up with the best proposal and then.
Yeah.
Yeah, but isn't it like the top level, wouldn't it be just like the top level?
I don't know.
I think it would be like more like the top level, because the lower level people, they're not.
Okay.
Commissioners, any more questions or concerns? All right, with
Do
it in
you have
mind,
any-
I'm sorry.
So we are done looking at this and giving recommendations, just want to make sure.
At this time.
At this time.
At this
At this
At this time.
Based on the
Okay.
fact that we have coming before us the legislative branch and all that it's going to bring, and also the Civil Service Commission proposals that are going to be coming down our pike, and then ultimately, and those will be in formal presentations. I'd like to make the following resolution, that resolved by the majority vote of the Charter Revision Commission, the Office of the City Attorney is hereby requested to prepare a draft version of the Commission's proposal to create a municipal office of Ethics and Ethics Commission for the City of Bridgeport. Further, the Office of the City Attorney is to provide a copy of the draft proposal to the chairperson of the Charter Revision Commission by but no later than May 15th, and that is negotiable.
Okay.
That is negotiable for review and consideration by the full commission for inclusion in the charter as recommended revisions. Do I hear a second on that?
Second.
Okay,
Motion to amend.
go.
Wait, who seconded?
I did.
Okay.
Motion to amend the date. I do think it is very wise with all the discussion we had today, which I thought was very fruitful. A lot of people had great points to have the city attorney's office use this as a starting point, redraft. But 9 days is so unfair.
Okay.
I mean, I would say,
Up to.
and I would just say, like, you know, if we could have it by, you know, the end of May, quite frankly, we're gonna start getting into the legislative stuff, the
Mhm.
legislative mayor.
Yeah.
We're gonna be deep in the civil service sections are gonna make your head spin. You think this is confusing, that's gonna be a disaster. So I would say like end of May is like maybe some middle ground. I would almost be fine with more time, because I think we did a lot of the discussion. I think the draft we're gonna get is gonna be pretty close, so let's give her some time.
Yeah, okay, that's fine. How much time do you think you need?
I would say by the Saturday, May 31st meeting.
All right,
that
that
there should
as
be some
amended,
time.
by Saturday, May 31st.
Did he get a second? Because I'll give him a
Yeah,
second.
give him one.
Second.
John,
Second.
I'm gonna owe you coffee now.
That's right, John, he didn't get one. You know, Mr. Gardner, you just.
And then, I'm sorry, so for this amendment, who was it?
It was Mr.
Mr.
Gardner.
Gardner.
And then
He was the
John.
first, and then you were.
No, Mr. Lee.
No, Mr. Lee.
Commissioner Lee.
Mr. Lee.
Okay, Tom. secretary, and chair.
So the,
You're so good at notes, you're impressed how well you can take notes while you're.
Versatile.
Yeah.
so the resolution has been properly brought before the body and amended as such. So, a roll call vote, please.
Yes. Yes, okay.
And the vote, just to be clear, is about the proposal to the city
Send
attorney.
it to the city.
Could we read the resolution one more time, just so that, with the change?
We have to vote on the amendment first.
Oh, yes, you're right, we do need to vote on the amendment, I don't think we voted on anything.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you. Can you read it so that we can?
If we just sit back, we have to.
Sorry, that was my inside voice.
It's okay.
All right, I'm gonna read this
Yes,
again,
thank you.
and,
This is the vote, so we're voting on the amendment.
Well, why don't you read the initial and
Thank
we
you.
can state the amendment. Go ahead. So the initial was.
resolved by majority vote of the Charter Revision Commission, the Office of the City Attorney is hereby requested to prepare a draft version of the Commission's proposal to create a municipal Office of Ethics and Ethics Commission for the City of Bridgeport. Further, the Office of the City Attorney is to provide a copy of the draft proposal to the chairperson of the Charter Revision Commission by, but no later than,
My amendment, Saturday,
Saturday,
May 31st.
May 30th.
First.
31st. For 2025, for review and consideration by the full commission for inclusion in the charter as recommended revisions. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay. Go ahead.
I know I can't interrupt the vote, but I just want to clarify something you said at the beginning. You said a majority of the commission. You want to say a majority
Majority
of
of the commission members
the
present.
president voting? Okay. Because
It
you
was
won't,
already
you won't
seconded
have a
by John.
majority of the commission.
All right. All right. All those in favor, we have to vote on the amendment, is that what we're going here? Okay. All those in favor of the amendment of the attorney's office having this to the chairperson of the commission by May 31st, 2025?
Aye.
Aye. Now you cast another vote for the
Yes,
full.
now we will do a roll call.
Now,
Well, do we I make a motion to approve as amended.
Yes. Second.
all those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes.
Unanimous.
Okay, so that was, you guys were for the approval of the amendment.
It was approval of the amendment and then
And
approval
then-
of the whole
Instead of having-
package.
So you two were the approval of everything. You were the approval of the amendment. Who, along with you, did that? You were the person.
Okay, got it.
Just sorry, gotta keep it all together.
Commissioners, thank you very, very much for your input on this. I think we've done a bang-up job, and we're going to send out a good message to the public.
If I could just say one thing about this package here. I don't know if there's any inspiration or anything here. I started looking through it today. This is a copy of other charter provisions, which look very different than what we just did today, because this is creating an office and doing things like that, and talking about the functions of the commission. This one has more to do with like code of ethics from other charters around the state that this particular attorney, Steve Mednick, has worked on in the past, some of which are very thin, and some of which have a lot of stuff in it. So that's that packet.
And where is that? Where is that package?
I gave
Behind
it to
you.
you. That was the thing I handed out earlier.
The thickest thing that got handed out today.
So this is pleasure reading.
I wanted to give John some
In between here,
reading.
now and May
Wait,
He's gonna
31st.
leave it in the restroom.
Did we mark it as an exhibit?
Yes.
Oh, yes, it's exhibit number 3.
Thank you.
Just to go back over, the Municipal Office of Ethics and Ethics Commission, that one was exhibit number 2. Yeah. Okay, we do want to take a roll call vote, though? We do
No,
not-
no, we
no?
did.
Oh, we're good? Okay, never mind. Okay.
Okay, what, the Municipal Office of Ethics and Ethics Commission was Exhibit 2?
Yes.
And the schedule, a revised schedule for the charter revision was exhibit 1.
was quite productive, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes. I do want to thank everybody for your thoughtful recommendations. They really, I think, will bring this proposal, it will create a stronger proposal, and, you know, it is, I think this would be really good for the city to see that we do want to run things ethically. So,
Quickly as possible.
yes. Next on our agenda is a brief discussion and overview of various proposed amendments to the charter to be discussed, including civil service, city council, but it should say minority party representation, various board and commissions, and chapter 1, 2, 4, 7, and 9. So that was put in there in case anybody,
We just lost quorum,
oh,
which,
How could we even?
no, we still have a quorum.
oh, what am I
We had eight.
Oh, right, somebody else came in, all right, I was like, oh, I was like, John, leave, I was like, John, you can't leave.
Yeah, so we're still at a quorum.
Sorry. False
Okay,
alarm.
we're all getting a little tired.
Yes, that was a lot to go through. That was put on our agenda. If anyone had any comments or recommendations or any new findings that they have found related to those topics.
None? Moving on to the next item on the agenda.
Okay, the next.
Well, I'll just say briefly, we have some language and ideas that are gonna be proposed to us by the same attorney, but more in advance, hopefully, for like the council sections, to give some ideas of like how at-large positions might work, or how you might incorporate minor party representation and stuff. So we might have that in advance, which is nice, something to look at,
perfect.
other places do. And the second thing is that they're actively really working hard on the civil service sections in the city attorney's office with the civil service director. So we are gonna have a fully baked proposal at some point that has required a lot of work and a lot of attention. By the time we get it, it will be very confusing, but it will be very well thought out, so.
We had sent out a letter asking for at least some idea of where they were going by May 10th. Is that at all possible? So that, because Eric wrote back that it was so involved and so it is. My concern, like our concern, was that if it's so involved and they're the ones that are the professionals at this, we need more time
Yes.
than 2 weeks to at least look it over to get an understanding of where they're coming from. We're not looking for the whole proposal.
Yeah.
We're looking for as much as they can give us at this time.
I saw your letter, and I said to Eric, you know, is there some middle ground? Eric Amato is the civil service director, some middle ground between when we have that presentation made by everybody and May 10th, because they weren't gonna be ready for May 10th.
Mhm.
Well, actually, what's today? Yeah, that's not happening. I promise you it's not happening. They also were very wary as they're working through, so then the question was, well, should we send a draft? The problem with sending a draft is if they change it, not only are you looking at the current to the draft, but you're looking at the current to the draft, to the new draft, and what's what, and you're just gonna confuse everybody. And since it's out of context, I'm telling you, some of these changes, they're gonna be defining basic terms of like, and instructing the commission on how civil service works, period, in different cases that have come up and dealt with, that providing the materials in advance is gonna do very little for the commission, absent their presentation and a bunch of attorneys sitting at the table explaining to you. So I know the hunch you're feeling inside is like, man, I wanna read the stuff in advance. It's probably not gonna mean very much until you hear the presentation. Would you agree with that?
It's written poorly, and it's very difficult to understand. So even if we
What is
started
written
making
poorly?
the current version of civil service, so if we're
Oh, I
rewriting
know
it.
that. I've tore it
So
myself.
if we're rewriting it and you're getting a draft one, you're gonna get a red line draft with a bunch of markups. It's gonna be a mess and not very easy to read. But I agree with Tom that civil service is one of those areas where it's really difficult to pick that up from a piece of paper. You really need to understand that through activity, right? And how it has been applied and what we're attempting to do. So I appreciate the desire to be prepared, but I just don't think that it's necessary here. I think this one, you might want to just show up and listen. and then
So-
take a read after.
And I think that Saturday, when we meet here with the attorneys, I think that's a decent day. Like, I think we should plan on being here for hours with them. I, said to them, they
This
really
is May
should
17th.
break down this presentation. They're gonna be changing a million things, they're gonna be changing a million words and commas and over multiple pages of text and stuff like that. And like, I don't think our goal as a commission should be to like second guess every word and comments in there. We have for other sections, and that's fine. I think we need the big picture of what they're trying to
Concepts.
accomplish, concepts, and why. Like, what's the why behind
So is
this?
that what they can provide us by May 10th? Just the concept. This is what we're thinking, but not the full version. I guess so for example, you came in tonight, you dropped off this enormous packet.
Yeah.
So to me, like if we were to vote on this, we're just rubber stamping whatever is being done. So if there is some type of,
Outline.
brief outline of what they want to do, it doesn't have to be the full thing, but it's just something to give us the direction in
What the
which they want to
directions.
go.
Yeah.
I think the reason why we wanted to do civil service over multiple days is for that reason, because it's kind of difficult, again, like I guess their idea was spend a day with us, with a presentation, maybe there's a PowerPoint, maybe a way to break this up, I don't know what they have in mind for the because they've really been going through text first, then they were gonna design a presentation, go through the presentation, sit over hours with multiple lawyers with us asking questions, engage with the text, then take it home, read it again, digest it, come up with more questions, come back with the same panel once, maybe more than once, to ask those questions. But again, that draft may not make a whole lot of sense to.
We're not asking, so
Yeah.
the draft is not what I'm asking for, but I'm asking for like, is it editorial? Is there something that they want to completely get out? Is there something that they were missing? An outline, not a complete draft.
I don't know.
I'll look. try,
What are their
ask.
intentions, I guess?
Yeah, I'll ask the questions.
I mean, because, when I looked at this section, which, I made a lot of, where did it go? Well, one, these are all my notes here, as well as notes within the document. So I guess, one of the things I noticed is that there's some things that are repeated in other areas, or it's not really cohesive. So are they looking to do that, or are they looking to like kind of blow it up and create a whole new civil service section? Like that's I guess.
That appears to be what they're headed, is to create a whole new civil
It's a mix,
service.
it's a mix. I mean, they're keeping a lot, most of the structure of it now is actually gonna stay the same. They are heavily editing. It's kind of a mix, I'd say.
Tom, quick question. You just mentioned that on May 31st, when we meet with them, we should expect to spend a lot of time here. And how much time should I be blocking out?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, that's not my call, it's your call.
No, but you have
No,
some
we're gonna
thought
have to
here.
go-
Well, I just think I don't think it's gonna be simple, and I just think we're gonna,
Call in lunch?
No, honestly, that day we'll definitely provide
I think
lunch,
it's
yeah.
gotta be breakfast and lunch.
Yeah, no, I think,
That's what I'm trying to
if we
think.
do a
I
10 a.m.
dinner.
day, I would hope we would be here for at least,
I mean, May
5 hours.
31st
3 or
is
4
like
hours.
to the end, so I would like to spend as
So like
much
5
time.
hours, Tom?
I don't know.
Well, I'm the one
Again,
that
that's
hosts
not
the
my
meeting,
call,
so-
I just.
Oh, you, okay, how many hours you think?
We can't imagine, because we don't
10
know
to
what.
2, 10 to 3 might not be unreasonable that day, 4 or 5 hours. I mean, at some point, you're all gonna
I'm
hate
just-
yourself.
We're all gonna be
Like
sick
that.
of each other.
Yeah, right.
That's
Oh,
why.
yes.
Oh, see, that's why.
So
I'm trying to figure it out.
I would say at least until 4 o'clock. just to
Yeah.
give yourself
Okay,
some
I just
time.
want to know what kind of question I need. I don't care, I just need to know.
Yeah.
No, yes.
But we don't know, but.
I know it could run longer, but I just need to kind of get a feel.
Would it be
So now,
unreasonable to
I'm
start earlier? Maybe start at 9?
That's fine. If that's what we want to do, start at 9 o'clock.
I would
Start at
think
9
both-
o'clock
both-
on that
both
Saturday?
of
9
those
to
days.
3?
Right, on both.
Joe,
Yeah, I'd rather start earlier.
would you like to make a motion?
I don't think we've gotten that in the agenda yet, but yes.
We're getting there.
We're getting
Let's
there.
just, well, because we did skip, no, actually, that is the next item on the agenda.
Yeah, that was the update, that's all. But people are working on stuff for us to consider, and it's moving.
Who's working on, we're gonna have lawyers' perspective on representation, minority party representation and that such, is gonna come.
So
from
I talked to
recommendations.
Attorney Mednick, again, who's like the state expert on this issue, and I kind of told him the ideas that have been thrown out there without trying to like lead it in a certain direction, because I want it to be broad and for us to keep an open mind. But he said, like, if you wanted to do a 10 and 5 commission, there's a bunch of towns actually in Connecticut that have 15 members, and all different types of weird ways that they do it. Some that have minor party representation and some that don't. So he's gonna show us model examples of what those look like, and we can consider them. And I think it'll be pretty easy to work through that. I think that'll be easier than even what we did today, to be
Take our
honest.
poison, so to speak.
I really do. I think based on the way he explained it to me very simply, and I was like, huh, you know, so it's not that complicated.
Okay, I'm seeking a motion to adjourn.
Well, wait a minute, were you gonna
Oh.
amend the times?
Yes, you're right, sorry. I'm seeking a motion to change the time
For that day.
for
It
May
should be
31st.
Should we do the
For those 2 days.
17th as well, since that's legislative and also a pretty hefty day, or no?
No, for
Yes.
both days.
I would say both days.
Okay.
I will make a motion to change the start time of the May 17th and May 31st meetings to 9 AM.
I second it.
It's May 31st and.
And
May 17th.
No.
No, May
No.
17th, yep.
No.
Yes.
Yeah.
Legislative too?
Yes.
Oh, all right,
Yeah.
all right.
Yeah, I think that's a
both.
good
And I
idea.
second it.
John, I'll come down the street and wake you up.
No partying on Friday night.
I have no time, I'm too busy with the damn commission.
And I want bacon, egg, and cheese, please.
No, I can't. That's not what it likes.
So I am looking for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
I second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
I can't hold it.
Ah, Lord have mercy. Where do you live, honey?
I thought we were really gonna be here a lot longer.